opposition. Didn't they do that? They said he was against Caesar. They said he was discriminating because he told his disciples, go not the way of the Gentiles, but rather go to the lost sheep. He discriminated. Don't go near the Gentiles, go to the lost sheep. Go to the oppressed.
That's right, that's right, that's right. Ride, 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 ride. Little goodbye when you see me ride. Don't you see me switching lanes? Bitch ass niggas switch sides, don't hate the riders. Hate the game, don't hate the riders. Don't hate the riders, don't hate the riders. Don't hate me, man. Don't hate ass niggas switching sides. Don't you see me switching lanes? Let me by when you see me ride. Don't you see me switching lanes? Bitch ass niggas switching sides. Don't hate the riders. Hate the game, don't hate the riders. Don't hate the riders. Don't hate the riders. Don't hate me, man. Don't hate ass niggas switching sides. Don't you see me switching lanes? This king shit, fuck chains, man. Give me gold bars and gold crowns. If a pimp suck these hoes down, housewives turn porn star. These hoes go too far. I'm guru, this gangsta. St. Louis don't fight fair. Put bullet holes in your paint job. Fake hoes get exposed. Eat bitch niggas like takeout. Hate the game, don't hate the riders. They watch us like a stakeout. Lurking on my Instagram. Is that what all that hate about? You acting like I give a damn. Like I don't know these hoes foul. Okay, I'm reloaded. Who wants a war now? Knock, knock, better open up, or we gon' kick the door down. Pine line, stay soldiered up, nigga, you can ask the whole town. I walk on water like Black Jesus, it's rider season. Let me by when you see me ride. Don't you see me switching lanes? Bitch ass niggas switch sides. Don't hate the riders, hate the game, don't hate the riders. Don't hate the riders, don't hate the riders. Don't hate me, man. Don't hate ass niggas switching sides. Don't you see me switching lanes? Let me by when you see me ride. Don't you see me switching lanes? Bitch ass niggas switch sides. Don't hate the riders, hate the game, don't hate the riders. Don't hate the riders, don't hate the riders. Don't hate me, man. Bitch ass niggas switch sides. Don't you see me switching lanes? I'm 100.
I'm telling the truth when I'm teaching you. You get caught and start telling the truth.
What's this guy's name? It's something Hawk. And it may sound stereotypical, but dude looks like he's done some time. And sounds like he's done some time.
Whatever, then I'm wrong. You got me now. You got me now. You got me now. Are you figuring me out? You fucking income fucking poop.
Yo. Peace to the tribes. Peace to the tribes. Let me get some bows and arrows in the chat, man, if you can hear me loud and clear. Yeah, we had a little issue with the, what's this shit called? With the flood and shit. Fuck my shit up, man, you know? So, we had to, do it a little different. Bows and arrows in the chat. We ain't gonna goddamn waste no time, man. I know y'all been waiting on me. I actually got 2 bills. I might be going back to back. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I got some jewels to drop. What we talking about? Black slave owners. Slavery's biggest secret. Let's just get right to it, man. Maybe we should start here.
Okay, this is how European settlement happened in the Deep South, the last of the settlement tutorials that we're taking a look at. And as you can tell by the name, when we talk about the Deep South, we're talking about the color purple, or whatever color you want to call that, which would be right down here. The Deep South being North Carolina, South Carolina, and the final colony to take place or come into existence, Georgia. Now, the Deep South actually settled its territory quite a bit later than a lot of the other colonies were settled, primarily because a civil war in England had disrupted colonization for about 30 years. What had happened was that King Charles had been beheaded by his people, who were led in rebellion by Oliver Cromwell, in 1649. Now, as a result of the beheading of King Charles and the fact that Oliver Cromwell led the rebellion, well, in 1649, when Charles was beheaded, Oliver Cromwell became the King of England and ruled there for 10 years, from 1649 to 1659. Now, Cromwell eventually stepped down, which led to Charles II, who was the son of the beheaded Charles I, coming to power in 1660. Now, at that point, there was no real colonization going on. They were so messed up with all the Civil War issues that they had happening that essentially colonization came to a dead stop. But colonization would be restored at the point of Charles II taking power in 1660, and that is known, I'll underline this in your outline, very important for AP US history, this is known as the Restoration period. And again, it's when Charles II, the son of the beheaded King Charles I, came to power in 1660. Rice, they had big slave trade with the after decades.
All right, I'm trying some new shit. So let me turn this up. I'm trying some new shit. So let me know if when the slide's playing, can you still hear the audio from the video? Because I've never used slides before. I'm trying to, I want to make the shit look a little more, you know what I'm saying, official. You know what I'm saying? And add my goddamn PDF and shit. So I'm just trying to see what's going on. Let me get some bows and arrows in chat. If you can hear the audio from the video when the slideshow's on. Because we got a lot to cover and I don't want to waste any time redoing shit, you know what I'm saying? Makes the video less interesting.
Decades, essentially, 30 years, 3 solid decades of really no colonization.
Thank you very much. I can always count on y'all, man. I appreciate y'all. So, apparently, we may have missed a little bit of the video. I'm going to bring it back. But what we're going to start here, before we go over America's biggest, or should I say slavery's biggest secret, black slave owners. And this is a very interesting image I found. This, it's a foot, well dressed, as you can see, and it's cut off at the top, but it actually says the Negro on the cuff of the pants, and there you see the white man is being crushed. Now, that's from I think 1908 type shit, 1904. That was when they was running the whole finesse. That was part of the finesse to get the upheaval going for all the rioting and shit that started going on. That was part of the propaganda that they were creating to create, to fuel, I should say, not create, but fuel the hostilities towards the so-called Negro, or as we know, Aboriginal, American, Atlantean, whatever you prefer. Just called me incredible. So we're gonna get back to this video, but we're gonna start from the beginning and look at how these people spread here. And also something that's very telling on this map is this is a very small area, very, very small area of this continent that these people were colonizing. So you got all these colonizer sympathizer ass niggas who think the goddamn pale faces motherfucking Professor Xavier and the motherfucking mutants and can do any motherfucking magical thing they tell them. Bro, these motherfuckers couldn't make it off the coast, bro. It's like niggas in the parking lot. If America is goddamn the club, these bitch ass niggas is in their cars in the parking lot right here. They outside. They ain't even made it in the club. Mississippi way over here. Them niggas ain't in the club. They out in the parking lot. And you talking about they in the club, mushing niggas all in the face, man, taking niggas drinks. They in the parking lot, bro. So we know that couldn't have happened. But anyway, I digress. Let's get to it.
And because of the Civil War issues, colonization is restored in 1660, and that's what the restoration period means, that they're going to start colonizing again. So that takes us to the colony of Carolina. Back then, it wasn't North Carolina and South Carolina. It was just simply one big colony called Carolina, founded in 1670 by 8 friends of the King of England at Charlestown. Back then it was 2 separate words, Charlestown. Today we simply refer to it as Charleston. There they grew rice. They had big slave trade with had a big slave trade with the West Indies, the Caribbean in other words, and they enslaved and tortured Indians. Charlestown, once again now known as Charleston, would eventually become the busiest seaport in the South. Okay, now if you take a look here, this is what the Carolina colony looked like before it eventually split into North and South Carolina. And the reason for the split was, frankly, pretty easy to understand. It eventually, well, I guess I'll put it to you this way. In this region of the Carolina colony, in the south part, were a series of aristocrats, people who had wealthy homes, a lot of land, a minority land-owning and ruling class. Up here in Virginia, a series of aristocrats, people who had wealthy homes, a lot of land, a minority land-owning and ruling class.
Okay, let's pause that there, because what we're listening to right now is, of course, just some regular old American history. You know what I'm saying? But he speaks about the aristocrats that own land, and it'll lead you to believe that these aristocrats are pale faces, for lack of better words, just because, that's what you've been taught. But actually, these are some of the faces of Southern aristocracy. Antoine de Buccleuch, William Ellison, I'm sure you know about, and Andrew Durnford. And actually, let's take a moment, because this is about black slave owners, so let's not spend too much time listening to how these scallywags invaded our land. Let's take a look at this. Oh yeah, we finna drop some jewels. Y'all already know how we rockin', man. Put some bows and arrows in the chat. You know what I'm talking about? If you hear me loud and clear. And matter of fact, let me take a moment to shout out some of the people who's made it in here, because I do appreciate y'all. I'm a hawk, man. Hawks don't show up on schedule, my nigga. Messengers just don't make appointments, my nigga. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a messenger, so when I'm here, I'm here. You know what I'm saying? But let me tell you, I've been goddamn frustrated like a motherfucker that my shit got flooded. You know what I'm saying? And I was trying to do some other shit. Shit wasn't working. I had to move all this shit, man. And, the shit was just mad frustrating. I ain't even gonna bullshit. But enough about that. Let's get back to all the good things going on, like all these good Indians in the chat. Joseph Scott, Tribe. You already know Lou Era in the building. D. Harris in the building. Tribe, some baby, what it do? Indie Goddess, peace and bliss, salute. Empress Freedom Feather, Tribe. Who else we got in here? Truth Master Dre in here. Reginald Jones, do you hear me loud and clear, Chief? Okay, we all clear. Joseph Scott, we said that already. Fuck it, say it again. Joseph Scott, Tribe. You know how we rockin' youngin'. Shay Pierre in here. Leonard DeYuda, Tribe. We already know what it is. You know we do this shit for Judah. Let's see. Haru Ali in here. The Dean One. Forsaken Shinobi. Let's see, who else? I don't want to forget nobody. Y'all early to class. We got, what's that say? Copper Towel? Copper in the building. Tribe. You know who you are. Snake God in the building. Big Chief, fuck you, Crackers. Good to see you in here, brother. It's always good to see a brother with a golden name. All right. Black slave owners. This is from abvilleinstitute.org, some old shit. But this is an essay, and it is an essay on the introduction to Larry Kroger's book, Black Slave Owners, Free Black Slave Masters in South Carolina, 1790 to 1860. So let's get into that before we, delve too far into the colonies. Allow me to read here. Says black slaveholding is a historical phenomenon which has not been fully explored by scholars. Graduate students of history are often surprised to learn that some free blacks owned slaves. Even historians are frequently skeptical until they discover the number of black masters and the number of slaves owned by them. To many readers, slavery was an institution exclusively utilized by white slave owners. The fact that free blacks owned slaves has been lost in the annals of history. Yet at one time or another, free black slave owners resided in every southern state which countenanced slavery, and even in northern states in Louisiana, Maryland, South Carolina, and Virginia. Free blacks owned more than 10,000 slaves, according to the federal census of 1830. And of course, we do have that book, 1830. You could Google it, man. Free Negro Slave Owners, 1830. Type it in your Google and the book will come up. Trust me. It says many of the black masters in the lower South were large planters who owned scores of slaves and planted large quantities of cotton, rice, and sugarcane. Now, I'm going to let you know, now that this information is coming to the forefront, they're being a little more forward with it, but now they're trying to goddamn juice the numbers and, change the shit. But we just going to, do what we do and hawk it on out. In 1860, for example, Auguste Donato, a free colored planter of St. Landry Parish in Louisiana, owned 70 slaves, 70, who worked 500 acres of land and produced 100 bales of cotton. About, 600 miles to the east of Louisiana, in the county of Sumter, South Carolina, William Ellison, a free colored planter, used the labor of 70 slaves to cultivate 100 bales of cotton. In 1861. In South Carolina, Robert Michael Collins and Margaret Mitchell Harris used their slaves to till the soil of Santee plantations and grew 240,000 pounds of rice in 1849. They got them pounds. 240,000 pounds, nigga. But the majority of the large colored planters lived in Louisiana. In 1860, and of course, we're going to cross-reference because, this motherfucker say this motherfucker say that. So all we do, we just get all the snitches together, and piece by piece, they're going to put the whole picture together. That's what an investigation is. So this is what we're doing. We're getting all the affidavits from the snitches, and of course, they're not giving us everything. But as one snitch tells one thing and the other snitch tells another thing, before you know it, we got these colonizers in the goddamn hot seat. Electric chair. Foot on their neck. Where is it? They know. They put it out. They put the ad out. foot on their neck. This is how they felt. This is what they were printing in the paper. 1905, 1904, 1908. They still feeling the pressure. But we ain't gonna get that far ahead. But like I say, these are the crucial times. 1820 to 1920. That's the century of change right there. That's when everything happened. Trust me, bro. You can read all you want. You know, I'll just read some 1500 shit, 1600 shit, just because, you know what I'm saying, put more pieces together. But at the end of the day, between 1820 and 1920, bro, that's when, from my research, that's when all the big paradigm shifts occurred. But guess what? 2020, it's another 100 years, and now we back at a whole nother paradigm shift. Ain't that something? That's cool. We'll take that. You had 100 years to fuck off, but now we finna ball out for the next 100,000. I digress. In 1860, I'll fast forward a bit, Madame Cyprienne Ricard and her son Pierre Ricard, free mulattoes of Unveiled Parish, owned 168 slaves. The joint operation of mother and son used the labor of slaves to produce 515 hog heads of sugar in 1859. Yet not all of the black masters were planters or from the South. In fact, the city of New York had 8 black slave owners who owned 17 slaves in 1830. Now, this is during slavery. So what the fuck is you saying? Because not it was an institution, bro. It was goddamn an operation. You work for me. You a peon, my nigga. You ain't got no money. You could come get on. I put you on. You get some money, goddamn, with 70-30, nigga. You get your weight up. Maybe you'll be free in about 10 years. I don't know what's so hard to understand. In fact, the city of New York had 8 black slave owners who owned 17 slaves in 1830. In short, the institution of black slave owning was widespread, stretching as far north as New York and as far south as Florida, extending westward into Kentucky, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Missouri. One may ask, where did these free black masters come from? Many of them were former slaves who were manumitted because of their kinship ties to whites. That's one narrative. While others were emancipated for meritorious military duty, faithful service, or saving lives, as well as other reasons. Now, of course, they don't want to tell you the other reasons because the nigga is fucking Aboriginal royalty. Already controlled the land because we already saw on the goddamn map, you motherfuckers can't even get in the club. You in the parking lot. Where is that? They in the parking lot. They can't even get in the club. You know what I'm talking about? So now, that's why I wanted to show you this, the European settlements in the Deep South. And they're calling this the Deep South because the Mason-Dixon line is like up here somewhere. You know what I'm saying? And that's why they're referring to this as the Deep South. Of course, we'll call that the East Coast over here mostly. Of course, we know the Carolinas, South, all that. But you know, that's still all East Coast for real in a nigga mind. You know what I'm saying? But I want you to see this. I brought this into the build because I want you to see where these people are. All right? Because we're talking about the aristocracy. Now you see on that, I don't know if you can see that map if it's too small, but you see how big Louisiana is coming up off of Florida. Oh, that's Louisiana. St. Louis is Louisiana. You see the Mississippi River running up the middle. All that's Louisiana over there. All right. You see the little red, that's the 13 colonies. Peace to the tribe. Shout out Celtic Indian in the building. You late, nigga. The Entourage Effect, Tribe, East Side, 1415. You already know how we rocking, man. All right, so now because we talking about the South, because the Black Belt, we're gonna get to that. We're gonna show that too. Of course, you know we got some reading material and shit. We ain't just gonna, you know. But anyway, but the majority of the black masters. says the majority of the black masters never knew the dehumanization of slavery because they had been born of free black parents. Now you see how these people just, this is what I'm saying, this is snitch documents. It says the majority of the black masters never knew the dehumanization of slavery because they had been born of free black parents. Well, who was the free black parent in 1830? Niggas? Come on, man. Y'all got to stop this, man. You got to stop this. Take the pill, nigga. Take it. However, the ranks of the slave masters included not only free blacks, but also nominal slaves. In many instances, blacks who were not legally emancipated assimilated into the free black community and later became slave owners. In many instances, blacks who were not legally emancipated assimilated into the free black community and later became slave owners. Niggas just falling in. I ain't finna go work for nobody, man. Fuck him. Come find me. Pull up. It was like having a job you couldn't quit, my nigga. That's it, bro. Same way motherfuckers try to, you be like, God damn, these motherfuckers act like this job is my life. This is how they always been. Because they don't want to do shit. So if you don't do shit, then it's fucked. It ain't no business, nigga. Because the only motherfucker with any know-how is the Aborigines. Out the gate. You got to be taught. I don't give a fuck. All my white friends, peace to you. You know what it is. We taught you this shit, bro. I'm so 100. That's why I show my face. I wouldn't give a fuck where I work, who watch, who know. Everybody know I'm the same motherfucker. I'm not racist, but let's just be real. We are the Atlanteans. Have some goddamn respect for a nigga when you see it. What my nigga say? Put some respect on my name. All three of y'all. Spain, Britain, and France. All three of y'all. Put some respect on our name. Because y'all wasn't nothing before y'all came over here stealing our shit. This is documented in history. The reason Britain got the upper hand is the Spanish Armada. All they ships got fucked up in sea. Act of God. So that's how that happened. Because Britain didn't have no power. They didn't have no money. Their castles was dilapidated in the early 1900s when they had the barons, the baron robbers. These motherfuckers having their debutante balls and shit trying to marry into royalty. But these motherfuckers who's royal over in Britain is broke as shit. So now they getting the money that they done stole from us. Now they done married in because they paying these royals in Britain to marry these scallywag bitches who done stole our money. You know what I'm saying? So they marrying E-hole, and then they taking this bitch money and they rebuilding Britain with it. This shit documented in history, bro. I done read this shit in so many motherfucking books, nigga. Go check it out. Let me reiterate this last sentence. However, the ranks of the slave masters included, not that one, but this one. But the majority of the black masters never knew the dehumanization of slavery because they had been born of free black parents. However, the ranks of the slave masters included not only free blacks, but also nominal slaves. In many instances, blacks who were not legally emancipated assimilated into the free black community and later became slave owners. By and large, the community of black masters came from a diverse background, which included persons of free and slave status. That's why I'm telling you it's a job. Slaves own slaves. Read The Richest Man in Babylon. In Babylon, slaves own slaves. You don't understand the history of this system? Scholar. Once freed, the black masters obtained slaves by various methods. Many of the colored slave owners inherited slaves from black relatives, as well as white kinsfolk. A few black masters owned slaves in West Africa and transported their slaves to the New World. But the majority of the black slaveholders used their own industry and worked as artisans, entrepreneurs, and even as unskilled laborers to obtain the capital to buy slaves. Niggas hustle. Finna get me a slave, nigga. Got me fucked up, nigga. Show the nigga finna get him some J's, nigga. Nigga finna get him a slave. Boy, you see a nigga on the goddamn bus stop. This nigga got on $300 J's you ain't seen just drop and a goddamn $1,000 phone waiting on the bus. Boy, niggas, boy, you better know it. I ain't mad at a nigga. I'm just that type. I'm from the hood. I'm a have-not, nigga. Get whatever you could get, nigga. Because you know one thing? When you look good, you feel good. When you feel good, you do good. So you level up however you got to do it. Just keep your foot on their neck. Let me get a tribe in the motherfucking chat, if you feel me. I got to talk my shit. The acquisition of slaves by Afro-Americans was the result of various factors. Many free blacks brought relatives who were slaves to white masters. Many free blacks bought relatives who were slaves to white masters. Because what you don't realize is there are actually situations where a motherfucker will sell your ass into slavery just on some spiteful shit. It's a story of one nigga, his wife. These free black people, his wife. He got pissed off. Nigga probably cheated on her. She done sold the nigga to the neighbor. Tried to go buy the nigga back. The neighbor didn't want to give him up. This shit is just paperwork, bro. But we gonna get into it. We just, we just getting started. It says some of the slaves, consequently, blah, blah, blah. Here, yeah, let's read this. It says the acquisition of slaves by Afro-Americans, hijack, dodge, nigga. The fuck, Afro-Americans. They even made niggas wear afros to promote this shit. But anyway, many free blacks bought relatives who were slaves to white masters. Quite often, when marriages occurred between free blacks and slaves, the free spouse attempted to buy the freedom of the slave spouse and the children. Also, marriages between slaves occasionally saw one spouse emancipated while the other remained in bondage. Consequently, the former slave tried to obtain the liberty of loved ones in servitude. Ain't that what you doing now? If you a hustler, nigga, and you an entrepreneur, you know what I'm saying, and you goddamn, you know how to get money out here in this world, ain't you trying to goddamn put your bitch on? Yeah, I said it, nigga. I gotta say it so my niggas understand it. You know what I'm saying? I got a different demographic. Whoever don't like it. Ain't you trying to put your bitch on too, nigga? If you a real one? Okay, this shit ain't different. It ain't nothing different, bro. It's just a different way to get money. Hey, man, fuck Walmart, bitch. You come out here, goddamn, say these zips for a nigga. Some of the slave purchases were caused not by the bond of kinship, but by humanitarianism. Free blacks of benevolent persuasion sometimes use their money to purchase slaves with the intent of emancipating them. Yeah, then goddamn Young Thug and them go buying all them niggas out of jail with the intent of emancipating them. However, many black masters did not intend to manumit their slaves and viewed their institution of slavery as a source of labor to be exploited for their own benefit. Yeah, some niggas didn't give a fuck. Put his ass out there. Send off. You a send off. Nigga treat you like a send off. Put you in a trick bag. No, I'm finna get money off this nigga. No, nigga, we 70-30, nigga. For 10 years. Matter of fact, 20-80, nigga. These motherfuckers got down 10-90. Kind of cut is that? Indeed, free blacks not only used the labor of slaves to till the soil of their farms and plantations. Let me put this shit on the screen for a nigga think I'm goddamn making this shit up. Indeed, free blacks not only used the labor of slaves to till the soil of their farms and plantations, but also purchased slaves to work in their businesses as skilled and unskilled laborers. Others bought slaves to be hired out. These black masters hired out their slaves to non-slave owners and appropriated the proceeds from the labor of slaves to help support themselves. Whatever the reason may have been to stimulate free blacks to acquire slave properties, the system of American slavery was a universal institution in which even Afro-Americans, he meant to say Aboriginal, it's a typo. Aboriginal Americans became slave owners and occasionally ascended to the ranks of large slave-owning planters. Because the history of black slaveholding has been almost ignored by scholars, The literature on the slave holdings of free blacks is lacking in quantity. Most of the studies examining black slave owning are written in the form of articles, although numerous other works mention the existence of black masters. So far as the author is aware, the subject of black slave holding has not been explored on a general or a statewide level in a monograph. Such studies are needed, and it is hoped that this book will, so far as South Carolina is concerned, supply this need. Although South Carolina may not have been the typical southern state where free blacks owned slaves, it provided the unique setting of being the bridge between the upper and the deep South, thus embracing elements of both societies. In the Palmetto State, where there were blacks who owned scores of slaves and large tracts of land, like the black slave owners of Louisiana. Primarily, however, South Carolina's black masters were small slaveholders who owned one or two slaves. Of course, the census records we have contradicts that, but nonetheless. Like the black slave owners of Maryland and Virginia, many of these small slave holders owned family members who could not be emancipated because the state legislature prohibited private manumission unless the freed slave left the state. This book is a study of black slave holders who were diverse in background and character. Many of the black slave owners of South Carolina were former slaves who rose from the shackles of bondage to the ranks of slave masters. Still others were 1 or 2 generations removed from slavery, and their parents and grandparents were slave masters who passed their human chattel from parent to child. Yet the ranks of the colored masters were not all from the elite class of black society. In the Palmetto State, free blacks who worked as draymen, stable keepers, and washerwomen acquired the money to purchase slaves. Within the community of slaveholders, there were free blacks who bought slaves for humanitarian reasons and broke the laws of South Carolina to maintain the freedom they granted their slaves. So they would just buy a nigga and just be like, man, go ahead on, bro. Yet black slaveholding in South Carolina was primarily a commercial venture, and the attitudes and actions of colored masters appeared to be similar to those of the white slave owners. In essence, free black masters embraced many of the attitudes of the white community, even while they remained on the fringe of society. And of course, this was an essay an introduction to Larry Kruger's book, Black Slave Owners, Free Black Slave Masters in South Carolina, 1790, 1860. And I don't want to just talk your head off, so let's...
colleagues from World in Action, and who both have find that many assumptions are wrong. So perhaps some of ours are, but certainly a lot of the general historians' assumptions are bloody wrong.
And that was really our starting point, was to see why these assumptions had grown and why it was that what we were seeing in the contemporary documentation seemed to show a completely, if you like, a parallel universe. There's the official story and there's the unofficial or perhaps true story, and we see huge parallels today in so many things, and it shows that spin was alive and well in the 17th century, just like it is now. You have the official story about what's happening, and then you have the hidden or covert story about what is really going on. And that's what we find that we were actually going after here.
Let me quote you from that great man, Thomas Jefferson. He was worried about the idea that convicts, lots of convicts have been sent to America, and God forbid, some Americans have been descended from convicts. He wrote this: "The malefactors sent to America were not sufficient in number to merit enumeration as one class. I do not think that the whole number sent would amount to 2,000, and being principally men eaten up with disease, they married seldom and propagated little. I do not suppose that themselves and their descendants are at present 4,000, which is little more than 1,000th part of the whole inhabitants. At that time, 1,000 convicts a year were being sent to America. According to unimpeachable sources, if you can believe convict traders, in Maryland alone, 600 a year had been going for 60 years of the whole inhabitants. At that time, 1,000 convicts a year were being sent to America. According to
1,000 convicts a year were being sent to America. All right? So these were all these scallywags coming from. That's how they getting them to come over here so they can have the goddamn jump off with the goddamn Jim Crow and have these motherfuckers running up in our shit, taking our houses, buildings, all this old shit. We had cities established since 1808. I got the primary source for that. Don't worry, y'all. I ain't just talking. I'm hawking.
To unimpeachable sources, if you believe convict traders, in Maryland alone, 600 a year have been going for 60 years. Tens of thousands of convicts have been flooding America, but does America want to know? No, it doesn't, and it hasn't ever since. You've got all kinds of self-delusions. I mean, you've got ideas about the whole inhabitants. At that time, 1,000 convicts a year were being sent to America. According to unimpeachable sources, if you can believe convict traders, in Maryland alone, 600 a year have been going for 60 years. Tens of thousands of convicts have been flooding America, but does America want to know? No, it doesn't, and it hasn't ever since. You've got all kinds of self-delusions. I mean, you've got ideas about why America was so preoccupied in preventing the truth from coming out.
Well, I think that because of being an emergent nation, it was necessary to have a kind of
See, we gotta listen to these British motherfuckers, and they talking about how motherfucker don't even want to know the truth. They say you don't even want to know the truth. America, you're under so many delusions. Before we get into that, let's just take a look at one of these. Antoine de Buccleuch was a wealthy man. When he died in 1887, he was considered as one of the wealthiest men in the entire South, more so than his white neighbors. Historians claimed he was worth about $265,000, which was some 200 times greater than the average annual income during those times. In addition to the land owned, he also had a large number of slaves. Unlike most black slave owners during those times, de Buccleuch was born to free parents in 1810. His father was part owner of a sugar plantation that was near Baton Rouge. What are we talking about? After his father died, de Buccleuch took the reins at the plantation. In addition to the land, he inherited about 70 slaves. The business continued to grow, and by 1860, it was one of the biggest sugar plantations in Louisiana and had over 100 slaves working in the fields. Andrew Durnford. Not only was Andrew Durnford a man of color, but he was also a doctor and a plantation owner. During the 1820s, he built and grew a sugar empire in Louisiana. He also owned dozens of slaves as well. Historians also claim that he believed that the slavery system was necessary and just. Born in New Orleans in the year 1800, Durnford's father was an Englishman, so we got us a mulatto here. And his mother was a free woman of color, so we got us an Indian. And of course, it's matrilineal, so he's still tribe. You niggas hate it if you want. When the Louisiana Purchase was completed, Durnford received automatic citizenship to the United States. He enjoyed an impressive education and was fluent in both English and French. Durnford's father passed away when he was a young man. He later befriended a white merchant from New Orleans named John McDonough. Through this relationship, Durnford obtained enough credit to increase his plantation business. The Durnford plantation continued to grow over the years. Records indicate that he paid $7,000 for 5 female slaves, 7 male slaves, and 2 slave children. Now, of course, we know they're white people. That's why they didn't say anything about color. Shortly after, he obtained 24 more slaves from Virginia to work his plantation. It is believed that Durnford at one time had over 80 slaves, literally earning him a fortune from their hard work. We'll talk about John Carruthers. That's enough for now. We cooking a bitch ass. The faces Or should I say the forgotten faces of Southern aristocracy?
Creation myth, really, and I think that they were able to create one, really. I think that there's a very different thing if you look at what happened in Australia, where, really, and I think...
But does America want to know? No, it doesn't. 60 years. Tens of thousands of convicts have been flooding America, but does America want to know? No, it doesn't. 60 years. Tens of thousands of convicts have been 60 years. Tens of thousands, 60 years. Tens of thousands of convicts have been flooding. Ideas about why America was so preoccupied in preventing the truth from coming out.
Well, I think that because of...
But does America want to know? No, it doesn't. But does America want to know? 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 No, it doesn't. And it hasn't ever since. You've got all kinds of self-delusions. I mean, you've got ideas about why America was so preoccupied in preventing the truth from coming out.
Well, I think that because of being an emergent nation, it was necessary to have a kind of creation myth, really, and I think that they were able to create one, really. I think that there's a very different thing if you look at what happened in Australia, whereas Australia and New South Wales in Botany Bay was set up as deliberately, they were designated penal colonies, and so anybody who went there, actually, and who's descended from it, they know they're descended from convicts. And
now you tell me what happened when you got a whole bunch of poor-ass white people, convicts, and you done sent them over here to our motherfucking empire. We got damn running water, lights, goddamn jewels, and nigga hair goddamn draping to the goddamn flow, niggas. And of course these motherfuckers over here putting on hoods, goddamn armed robbery. Them was ski masks. That KKK shit, they had on ski masks. Them robbers, my nigga. They done ran up in our shit. That's who got the land. That's whose dick these niggas sucking. Some son of a motherfucking convict. And want to get on here and argue with a nigga about something. You stupid motherfucker, read a book. But I gotta put this pale-faced, bald-head motherfucking long head on here, goddamn, just for a nigga to believe it.
penal colonies. And so anybody who went there, actually, and who's descended from, they know they're descended from convicts. And
descended from convicts.
Badge of honor, because actually quite a lot of these convicts were, of course, just petty thieves and so on, and horse thieves and general ne'er-do-wells and riffraff.
And political dissidents.
But that's the point, exactly, because quite a lot of them were, of course, political dissidents. And so, of course, particularly, you know, Irish nationalists and so on, who were rounded up and sent there in large numbers. And, of course, for them, the fact that they'd been transported for their political views, of course.
Now, go do the history on the Civil War. Over 300,000 pale-faced immigrants was fighting for the Union. Most of them motherfuckers died. Still in our country, still in our land, still in our continent, still in our identity, still in our motherfucking technology. And that's one thing when you study the World's Fairs, if you notice, all of the technology that was presented at the World's Fair was not available until some things decades after. Why? Because it was stolen and they didn't know how to use it. They showing this shit off because they had just goddamn conquered us. Well, conquered your ancestors, nigga, because I'm from the unconquered tribe. You smell me? Our flag look like that.
Was like a badge of honor. But in America, it was much more amorphous. This is a much more heterogeneous thing, and it happened in a totally different way. That none of these new plantations, even though they were all about making money, it wasn't about getting rid of undesirables, although that was a large part of it. It was a money-making machine. And so what one had to do was to actually organize it. And there were so many different groups of people, of political dissidents, religious dissidents, political refugees, and all sorts of people, and people who went of their own free will and then found themselves caught up in basically in labor camps and so on, that it was so much more amorphous. And out of it was born an idea of freedom, even at the time when the vast majority of workers, of the workforce in America, were actually used as a slave labor force. But yet Americans themselves, that as undesirables, although that was a large part of it, it was a money-making machine. And so what one had to do was to actually organize it, and there were so many different groups of people, of political dissidents, religious dissidents, political refugees, and all sorts of people, and people who went of their own free will and then found themselves caught up basically in labor camps and so on, that it was so much more amorphous. And out of it was born an idea of freedom, even at the time when the vast majority of workers, of the workforce in America, were actually used as a slave labor force. But yet Americans themselves, as it went on, they wanted to create a sense of this being separate from and different from the yoke of Britain, the English colonial system. And so a whole new view was plastered over the top of what was going on in a way in which it couldn't have been done in Australia.
One of the keys.
You gonna let this pale motherfucker on the show now. John Carruthers Stanley. As with lots of slave children from plantations, no one is sure of John Carruthers Stanley's parentage. It is believed that he was born during March in 1795 as a bastard son of John Wright, who was a well-known merchant and trader from New Bern, North Carolina. His mother was a slave that had been working at a neighboring plantation. Fortunately for him, his slave owners treated their slaves more kindly than most. Because of the circumstances, Stanley got to learn a trade as a slave as he became a barber. His owner allowed him to cut hair part-time whenever his plantation work was done. What kind of slavery is this? Nigga? Oh, we cooking them with this one, y'all. Black slave owners, slavery's biggest secret. His owners allowed him to cut hair part-time whenever his plantation work was done. He was able to save his money, and at age 21, he bought his freedom. He bought himself out the contract, my nigga. Just like being signed to a record label now. That's more like slavery. Didn't you see Dolph goddamn with the, what is it, Rich Slave, nigga? Go watch Dolph Rich Slave video. R.I.P. Dolph. And rest in peace to the fuck niggas that killed him. Then in 1801, Stanley purchased his wife and 2 slave children as well. And also 2 slave children as well. So this nigga just balling. This nigga goddamn lining niggas up. So, okay, let's see. Let's do a timeline. 1801, this nigga got a barbershop. He was been cutting hair part-time till he done ran it up, bought himself out of slavery. He done got his wife out of slavery, cutting hair, nigga. And then he also bought 2 slave children as well. This allowed him to become legally married within the state of North Carolina. He later bought his brother's freedom and focused on what? Expanding his barbershop. We finna level up, man. I bought my boo out of slavery, my nigga. It's 1801, bitch ass Pan-African ass nigga. 1801. My nigga got a barbershop, old powwow ass niggas. Goofy ass nigga. If your granddaddy was in a powwow, nigga, in a goddamn teepee, while my niggas over here getting their goddamn hair faded up and expanding their barbershops, you are the descendant of a fuck nigga. Newsflash, nigga. We didn't live in no fucking teepees.
You will give me teepee. Give me your teepee. You will give me teepee. Are you threatening me? Teepee. You must give me your teepee. I need teepee for my bunghole. You will give me teepee.
No motherfucking teepees, nigga. Fuck wrong with you niggas. In 1801, Stanley purchased his wife and also 2 slave children as well. This allowed him to become legally married within the state of North Carolina. He later bought his brother's freedom and focused on expanding his barbershop. Stanley eventually bought some land near New Bern to expand his business interests even further. He went on to own over 160 slaves. Nigga.
But change your motherfucking mindset. You wanna know why you ain't got shit? Cause you ain't thinking about shit. I come out the door every day with this shit on my mind. I'm gonna give me a bag. Fuck wrong with you? I'm gonna give me some cash. Change your motherfucking mindset, man. You think pennies, you get pennies. Bitch, I'm thinking dollars.
In the Virginia Company, along with his famous patron, the Earl of Southampton. So they needed this cheap labor force, and the question was how to get it. And they dressed up these ideas of rounding up basically vagrants, petty criminals, and then, of course, all sorts of dissidents and so on. And they would all be shipped off under the pretense that basically they were the ones who were not criminals and who were not criminalized in a system of rounding up vagrants and homeless children and so on. They used a very interesting technique to actually to persuade people to go there. They painted a rosy picture of this great new world. And they were aided and abetted in this by a wonderful thing, because at that time, of course, there was a huge upsurge in religious dissent, and all sorts of new religious groups grew up. With names that we know today, like the Quakers and the Puritans and the Plymouth Brethren and so on. And there was this great millennialism, this idea of finding the new world, and so lots of people wanted to go to find a new world. If only you could cleanse yourself of the horrors and the tainted world that they find themselves in today. And so, of course, they were ripe for the plucking. And the idea was that if they had no money, many of them, and so all they were doing was going to work their passage off over a period of years. But of course, this system was totally abused, and it was totally abused in a very particular way, which maybe Mike would like to talk about, called the headright system, which is how human beings became commoditized. They were turned into commodities, like chattels, like something that could be bought and sold, like a hog or a cow or a goat or anything else.
Now, we just want to make sure that we're staying with the group. He's talking about Europeans here. This is not about us. This is about them. All right, so pay attention. And don't come in my chat with all that weirdo shit. Straight up. This ain't that. Peace to the tribes.
And they became worth a particular amount of money. And this was simply because, and how they turned in from people who were just going to search a new life for themselves, became commodities. And maybe you'd like to talk about that, Mike.
Well, headrights was introduced in 1619 to encourage settlement. And the idea was the payment of 50 acres of land in Virginia for every soul brought into Virginia. Every soul brought in by someone else, or every soul who paid for the acres of land in Virginia. Introduced in 1619 to encourage settlement. And the idea was the payment of 50 acres of land in Virginia for every soul brought into Virginia. Every soul brought in by someone else. Acres of land in Virginia.
And this was simply because...
And the idea was the payment of 50 acres of land in Virginia for every soul brought into Virginia.
So now that's the difference between a black slave owner and a white slave owner. Is you over here all in another motherfucker house trying to conduct business? If an Indian giving a motherfucker a job on his land, stupid, that's not the same as some motherfucker coming and invading his land and giving it away. That's part of a transaction. So this ain't that. And I come at you any way I want. You over here in my motherfucking goddamn spectrum of vision, my nigga. And if I can see you, then you already know what it is. Huh? Look here, man. And you can see me outside with it, boy. I'm not even, boy, what you see is what you get. This ain't no internet shit. Straight up. I'm over here teaching. One nation above it all.
Every soul brought in by someone else, or every soul paid for their own.
Giving away our land. Like a lottery.
After with money, could invest in people. They could pay for half a dozen poor to go to America. They would sign them up as indentured servants, and if it was half a dozen, they'd get half a dozen 50 acres. A couple of hundred, several hundred acres. Some brought vast numbers of people, 60, 70, hundreds. I think I can't remember how, but there was certainly something like 80 groups who brought, or 80 individuals who brought in more than 100 people each during a couple of years. And they got 70, hundreds. I think I can't remember how, but there was certainly something like 80 groups who brought, or 80 individuals who brought in more than 100 people each during a couple of years. And they got vast amounts of land. They also got the labour of these people who signed up to get there. They had the labour of these people for a number of years. It varied between 3 and 11 years. But if the system developed that these people who were who were claimed to be the riches of Virginia, planters would say later on, our riches are our servants. And they were indeed. They would get these people, they would make money on them by getting more and more acres, which they could sell. The servants themselves.
Now pay attention to what he's saying, because see, this is also giving you a little better understanding of why you had these Mormon motherfuckers coming over here so goddamn deep, jumping off the motherfucking ferry boat, because they giving these motherfuckers land. So they all coming over here as an organized conglomerate, goddamn bringing motherfuckers with them and claiming land, because they giving the shit away by person. You hearing what he's saying? We dropping jewels tonight, man. This is what y'all was waiting for.
Giving you more of what you hoping for. You ain't hoping in the Lord, huh? You hoping in vain, material, superficial shit. That's why you can't see me, house niggas.
If they disobey, their period of servitude will be doubled. If they disobeyed, if they ran away, their period of servitude will be doubled. Sometimes it would certainly go up. It could go up for every month away. They could be they could serve 10 extra months. So if you're away for a few months, you could serve years and years and years. But most of these people will never survive that long anyway. Half of them die within a year. They, as Don said, they became a trade developed. It became very, very profitable to deal in men. And there were all kinds of, and women, all kinds, and children, all kinds of agents were doing this. And in fact, this, so needful was Virginia and Maryland and the rest of America for labor that another market, a criminal, that served years and years and years.
Now, let's just be critical thinkers here. You got to ask yourself, why would there be a huge demand? Why would there be a huge demand for labor if they had 100 million niggas from Africa at their motherfucking bidding? See, the shit don't match up. But see, these niggas don't study enough. If you stop goddamn trying to figure out how to fuck a goddamn Egyptian goddess or some weirdo shit, you might have a chance to figure out what the fuck is going on in America. Peace to the tribes, man. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. I hope you're learning something. Put some bows and arrows in the chat if you're learning something. This shit give me a little, I told you it fuck with my abundance vibe, man. I just be wanting to chill and, you know what I mean? This shit piss you off. And then you get some weirdo motherfucker in the chat trying to spin the whole shit. You know what I mean? We ain't doing that. We ain't doing that.
I don't give a fuck what you think, bitch. Your thoughts ain't my thoughts. Bitch, I'm flowing straight from the survival scroll. Cut that bitch off. Next caller.
Long anyway, half of them died within a year. They became a trade developed. It became very, very profitable to deal in men, and there were all kinds of and women, all kinds and children, all kinds of agents were doing this. And in fact, this so needful was Virginia and Maryland and the rest of America for labor that another market, a criminal market, grew up, which Don can talk about.
Well, well, a good sign of people realizing they're on a good thing is that as soon as a market develops, you can be sure that a criminal, that criminals latch onto it, and this is something that one sees throughout history. And the interesting.
Now, notice it says that a market develops. This is a business, okay? I know this Hawk School, some of this I don't have to reiterate, you know what I mean? We got all the elect in the building, you know what I'm saying? So I don't have to reiterate. Matter of fact, we got the elect in the building, so I don't have to reiterate this shit. This is a business, my nigga. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes when I do these lives, I have so much shit loaded up, goddamn, in the bowl, ready to go. And then it's like, I listen, I hear myself, nigga. This shit don't make no sense. You know what I'm saying? For you to still be believing some old slave shit, bro. If you want to be descended from a slave, that's cool, my nigga. If that floats your boat, what my mama say, God bless her soul. If you like it, I love it. But we the gifted and the elect. The unforgettable forgotten. You know what I'm talking about? And we gonna change the narrative. Put some goddamn respect on our name. Put some respect on my motherfucking chat, nigga. Shout out. I saw my nigga Ab TV. Somebody talking to Ab TV. I ain't see him, but I seen his name. So shout out to my nigga Ab TV. Make sure you go subscribe to that brother channel. Shout out Big Aboriginal Power. Autonomous One, Supreme Chief Holiday, Jaguar, Omega. Go check out American Gods. It's lit. They go over the American Indian Encyclopedia, American Indian contributions, you know what I'm saying, to the whole fucking planet Earth. Because we the ones gave birth to the Earth, you know what I'm talking about? Let's go to...
Let me show you how to create an amazing
ad. Hold on. That ain't what we doing. We ain't gonna interrupt this class right here, man. We dropping jewels. Slavery's biggest secret. Black slave owners.
Hi, I'm Barbara Rimkunis, and this is your Exeter History Minute.
We'll let her tell you.
Today's topic is child labor, which sounds pretty. And this is your Exeter History Minute. Today's topic is child labor, which sounds pretty heavy. Kids have always worked within the family. Farm kids had plenty of chores, some dull, some fun, some hard, but most of the time they worked under the supervision of their parents. It's always been the job of parents to prepare their children for the adult world. Sometimes this means apprenticing your child to learn a skill. Usually boys were apprenticed, not so much girls. Girls needed to learn the million skills it took to keep a household going in the era when she might be responsible for all the food preparation and preservation, clothing production and maintenance, home sanitation, and
come on, get to it, bitch.
It helped if she grew up in a household that was similar to that of her husband. So a farmer's daughter might marry a dairyman, baker's daughter might marry a tavern keeper. Anyway, this is the apprentice agreement for Samuel Lord from 1766. His father essentially signed him over to Puerto.
Wait up, hold a minute. Hold up. From what date? These motherfuckers love fast forwarding the good shit. This bitch talk all day to get to the point.
Father essentially signed him over to Porter Samuel Lord, keeper. Anyway, this is the apprentice agreement for Samuel Lord from 1766. His father essentially signed him over to Porter Kimball for 18 years and 9 months with the understanding that he would be taught the weaver's trade.
He signed them over. They selling their kids over there. Get them the fuck out of here. 17 what? Run it back. Run it back, because we dropping jewels tonight.
This is the apprentice agreement for Samuel Lord from 1766. His father essentially signed him over to Porter Kimball for 18 years and 9 months with the understanding that he would be taught the weaver's trade. Kimball and his wife were required to feed, house, and clothe the boy, 2 sets of clothes, one for work and one for church, teach him enough reading and ciphering as needed for the trade. Samuel was prohibited from marrying, gambling, and haunting alehouses. No dice games for you, Samuel. Children who were living at the town poor farm were usually indentured or apprenticed out as well. The Industrial Revolution changed how children work. Farm work may have been poor farm were.
Slow down, bitch. Says the overseers of the poor are desirous of binding out to service a number of boys and girls. The boys will be bound till they attain the age of 21 years, and the girls until they attain the age of 18. The ages of the children vary from 1 to 12 years, and their complexions from black to white. John Rogers, John Kimball, Freesey Dearborn, Overseers of the Poor, Exeter, November 14th, 1826, nigga. Anybody could get it.
Were usually indentured or apprenticed out as well. The Industrial Revolution changed how children work. Farm work may have been tough, and kids worked alongside their parents during planting and harvesting from sunup to sundown, but they generally moved from task to task. Up to sundown during planting and harvesting from sunup to sundown during planting and harvesting from sunup to sundown alongside their parents during planting and harvesting may have been tough, and kids worked alongside their parents during planting and harvesting from sunup to sundown alongside their parents during planting and harvesting from sunup to sundown alongside their parents during planting and harvesting from sunup to sundown, but they generally moved from task to task and had long periods when they could attend school. Factory work kept children inside for 12 to 16 hours a day in unspeakable conditions. Machinery that was loud, dangerous, lighting was poor, there was little ventilation, and interior temperatures were either very hot or very cold.
The fuck do these niggas be talking about, tribe?
Freedom.
Let's go back in American history to the time of the Civil War. At that moment in history, there were those who considered black people to be not only inferior to white people, but almost subhuman. How then can you connect with people who automatically dehumanize you? By showing them people in your position who look like them. This was the concept behind the campaign promoting the white slave children of Louisiana. On January the 1st, 1863, the US President Abraham Lincoln declared the Emancipation Proclamation, thus declaring free approximately 3 million enslaved people, housed in the Union and Union Army, and the Confederate States controlled by the Union Army. And the Confederate Proclamation exempted the loyal border states that remained in the Union, and the Confederate States controlled by the Union Army. By 1863, there were 95 schools for free black people in Louisiana, in areas controlled by the Union Army.
Hold on. That reminds me. "95 schools." The Southern City Negro. Though many Southern cities have instituted industrial training in the public schools, Atlanta so far has done nothing. The president of the Board of Education, in his last published report, 1903, calls attention to this fact and says, so we're going to fast forward a bit, but she just reminded me of the schools. Because now we know this shit been going on since 1800. Nigga had a barbershop 1801, 1802. For real, they put the 1801 on it, but 1801 is when he say he bought his wife out of, bought her freedom, and then expanded his barbershop, bought his brother and all that. So really, they don't want us to see that 1797 when the nigga opened his barbershop. You know what I'm saying? They gonna fast forward past that. It says, while on the subject of Negro schools, permit me to call your attention to their overcrowded condition. Now, he's a hater, but like I say, this is just another snitch, and we're going to get his affidavit. In every Negro school, many teachers teach 2 sets of pupils, each set for 1/2 of a school day. And see, what he's hoping to do here, I'm going to give you a little spoiler alert, is to degrade the schools. But see, he don't know how niggas think, and I'm going to show you what I mean in just a minute. It says the last bond election, blah, blah, blah. It says the eagerness of the colored people for a chance to send their children to school is something astonishing and pathetic. You see what I'm saying? So he can't believe it, and he's mad about it. He's a fucking pale-faced hater, scallywag, son of a convict. They will submit to all sorts of inconveniences. You see this shit, y'all? They will submit to all sorts of inconveniences in order that their children may get an education. One day I visited the Mill neighborhood of Atlanta to see how the poorer class of white people lived. I found one very comfortable home occupied by a family of mill employees. They hired a Negro woman to cook for them, and while they sent their children to the mill to work, the cook sent her children to school. Huh? They hired a Negro woman to cook for them, and while they sent their children to the mill to work, the cook sent her children to school. Nigga. We ain't on that scallywag shit. Here is a curious and significant thing I found in Atlanta. Because there is not enough room for Negro children in public schools, the colored people maintain many private schools. Huh? Fuck your school. The largest of these, called Morris Brown College, has nearly 1,000 pupils. Some of them are boarders from the country, but the greater proportion are day pupils from 7 years old up who come in from the neighborhood. This college, quote unquote, in reality is a grammar school. See, he mad. But Morris Brown College is still around now, 100 years later. Dick sucker. It's a grammar school. Well, they still here, scallywag. Is managed and largely supported by tuition and contributions from Negroes. Though some subscriptions are obtained in the North, besides this quote-unquote college, there are many small private schools conducted by Negro women and supported wholly by the tuition paid the Negroes, thus voluntarily taxing themselves heavily for their educational opportunities. One afternoon in Atlanta, I passed a small, rather dilapidated house. Just as I reached the gate, I heard a great cackling of voices and much laughter. Colored children began to pour out of the house. "What's this?" I said. And I turned in to see. I found a Negro woman, the teacher, standing in the doorway. She had just dismissed her pupils for recess. She was holding school in 2 little rooms where some 50 children must have been crowded to suffocation. Yeah, nigga, we in this bitch. Because we going to be goddamn riding around in the goddamn C.J. Pattersons, motherfucker. Everything was very primitive and inconvenient. But it was a school. She collected, she told me, $1 a month tuition for each child. Molly McHugh's school, perhaps the best known private school for Negroes in the city, has 250 pupils. Many children also find educational opportunities in the Negro colleges of the city, Clark University, Atlanta University, and Spelman Seminary, which are supported partly by the Negroes themselves, but mostly by Northern philanthropy. Mr. Landrum gave me a copy of the last statistical report of the board, 1903, from which these facts appear. Now, this is what I want you, because you're trying to make us look bad, but okay, it's 14,000 white motherfuckers in school and only 8,000. And it's only, that's 20 schools, though. We only got 5. We only got 5 schools. What's 5 times 8? Fuck out of here, man. Your weak ass numbers. Hold on. Even with a double daily session for colored pupils, nearly half of the Negro children in Atlanta, even in 1903, were barred from public school from lack of facilities, and their number has increased largely in the last 4 years. Some of these are accommodated in the private schools and colleges, which I have mentioned, but there still remains hundreds, even thousands, who are getting no schooling of any kind. Yeah, nigga, they don't want to go to school, nigga. They outside. Wow, Indians. We been in school, bro. We been having businesses. We been civilized. We been living in buildings.
$9,500 Black and Afro-descendant children and adults received an education at these schools, which came at a great cost. In order to raise funds to keep the schools going, the National Freedmen's Association, the American Missionary Association, and union officers embarked on a publicity campaign as a ploy to engage sympathy.
Now, this is where you got the turncoat niggas right here running the play. The Freedmen School started by the goddamn turncoats. Union soldiers, turncoats. All these niggas is traitors. So this is their ploy. Because now they're going to change the narrative. This is the plan. We about to switch it up. We're going to paint this picture.
From the public and encouraged them to donate. They sold a series of CDV photographs of light-skinned, white, European-looking, formerly enslaved children, juxtaposed with dark-skinned ex-slaves with African features. In total, 8 emancipated slaves participated in the publicity tour, 5 children and 3 adults. 4 of the children were extremely light-skinned and appeared white. Charles, Rebecca, Roshina, and
Hey man, what is this bitch talking about appear white? This what the Hawk filter for. Bitch, they white. The fuck is you talking about? Motherfuckers be in such denial, bro. The shit is insane to me. But luckily, we just got all this other good knowledge to go with this video. But see, motherfuckers will watch one video, and that's the end of it. Oh, I know what I'm talking about. This be the problem with these niggas. You know what I'm saying?
You killing me. Next caller. Tom, next caller. You don't like it? Kiss my ass. You don't like it. It's my house.
Now let's get back to these appearing white. Look, these motherfuckers white as shit. What the fuck is you talking about, bitch? Anyway.
and Augusta. The 5th child, Isaac, and the 3 adults and 3 adults. Skinned ex-slaves with African features. In total, 8 emancipated slaves participated in the publicity.
Alright, now I done seen this picture before. This nigga, they already putting this nigga in Freemason shit. He throwing up the hidden hand. He straight out of goddamn Cub Scouts. He with the shit. Look at this nigga right here. He with the shit. Baby boy. Cause don't forget, they got child labor and slaves and all this shit. They don't give a fuck. This nigga 10 years old. He got down with getting this nigga on code. Goddamn Shy Apple. Tribe, you goddamn doing your James Bond shit too fast, Tribe. I can't even goddamn see what your shit said on there, man. Shout out my nigga Shy Apples, man. It's propaganda, man. But this little girl right here, she look like somebody done pressed her hair. I ain't gonna cap. She look mixed. But these niggas is being indoctrinated. So these the niggas that's gonna lead into 1903. These gonna be the nigga Freedmen Bureau nigga right here, and this your future KKK right here. They getting them primed up and ready.
5 children and 3 adults. 4 of the children were extremely light-skinned and appeared white.
If this bitch called these kids light skinned one more motherfucking time, these are scallywags. This bitch crazy. Can you believe this shit? Put some bows and arrows in the chat if you think these are white children. If these quantify as white children. Because this bitch tripping.
Motherfucker, ain't no corrupt communication came out my mouth. You know what corrupt communication is? That's when you talk about the devil. He the devil. Your motherfucking communication is corrupted.
Yeah, nigga. Black slave owners. Slavery's biggest secret. Take the pill, nigga. This El Codico Negro, black law. This is the law, the Spanish law of slavery that was supposed to be like more lenient, which allowed a slave to buy their own freedom. And that was they'll say that some of them, I actually learned about that initially from this article. Let's go back to that. Let's go back to some of these black slave owners. Because I believe I discovered that in here. Was it William Ellison, one of these? Or maybe it was another article. I read another one, top 10 slave owners or some shit. Here, let's read about the sister. We got the sisters in the chat, man. Tribe. Let's see what they hijack and steal her identity, talking about. Marie-Therese Metoyer had been living in Congo when she met Claude Metoyer. This bitch ain't from the Congo. She was probably on vacation because she's a rich-ass Indian. She met Claude Metoyer, so we know that's not even her name. A Frenchman who became her future husband. This happened during a time when interracial marriages were taboo and seen as immoral. They later moved to Louisiana. Yeah, because that's where all the balling niggas was goddamn. Had these convicts working goddamn sun up, sun down with their kids. Since their marriage wasn't sanctioned or approved by polite society, Marie was seen as her husband's slave. You see what I'm talking about? How, Sway? After several years passed and after 6 children, Marie divorced her husband and he moved back to France. Marie then started a new tobacco plantation. Well, goddamn, Junebug, how you gonna just skip over everything like that, man? You just gonna skip over it. We ain't hear nothing about no old tobacco plantation, did we, y'all? Marie's leadership allowed the Metoyer family to prosper greatly as the plantation continued to grow. After some time, the Metoyers had more slaves than anyone in their county. Records show that they owned 287 slaves in the year 1830. William Ellison in the year 1862. William Ellison was not only a large slave owner in the state of South Carolina, he was one of the wealthiest slave owners as well. Born as a slave, he was fortunate to have been purchased by a white slave owner that gave him a proper education. When he turned 26 years old, his master freed him. He then began building a cotton plantation. Well, where the fuck did this slave ass nigga get the money from? But we'll let this, like I say, it's just another affidavit of another fucking snitch. We putting together a goddamn report. Black slave owners, slavery's biggest secret. However, he earned the lion's share of his fortune by breeding slaves, quote unquote. Even though it was not legal in many southern states, Ellison would secretly sell off most of his female slaves, but would retain a select few for breeding purposes. He would usually keep most of his young males because they could perform the most work on his plantation. Ellison had the reputation of being a very harsh master. His slaves were usually hungry and poorly clothed. He maintained a building on his land that had no windows where he could chain slaves that had misbehaved. So this nigga's totally fucking psychotic, all right? And balling.
White. Charles, Rebecca, Rashina, and Augusta. The fifth child, Isaac, and the three adults, Wilson, Mary, and Robert, were black with African features. Some of the adults bore signs of mistreatment. Wilson had the initials of his former slave master branded onto his head.
Now, what they don't know is this nigga is standing too fucking proud to be a slave. He's a fucking Freemason ass nigga participating in one of these old rituals. We know this. Look at this nigga, bro. Why is this nigga looking so dignified with this collar on? Look at this nigga. This nigga got a chain on, did a whole photo shoot. Gave this nigga the goddamn motherfucking peg leg and everything. This nigga's a willful participant in this photo. This shit is a costume. Just like the motherfucking powwows, costumes. Just like these motherfucking teepees these niggas talking about living in. If you still on the fucking news fighting to put a teepee on some motherfucking land, nigga, something is wrong with you, nigga. Straight up.
You will give me tippy. Give me your tippy. You will give me tippy. Are you threatening me? Tippy. You must give me your tippy. I need tippy for my bunghole. You will give me tippy.
And Mary's arms and back were covered in scars, a punishment for being 30 minutes late in bringing her former master a cup of coffee. Rebecca, one of the white children, had been a slave in her.
Make up your mind, bitch. Now they white. They just look white 30 seconds ago, bitch. It's only a 3-minute video. But it's just another affidavit. Snitch on.
Her own father's house, who was also her master.
Check this out. Check this out.
Who was also her master. Augusta, one of the white scars, a punishment for being 30 minutes late in bringing her former master a cup of coffee.
Check this out.
Rebecca, one of the white children, had been a slave in her own father's house, who was also her master. Augusta had also been a house, who was also her master. Her own father's house, children, had been a slave in her own father's house. Children had been a slave in her own father's house. Children had been a slave in her own father's house, who was also her master. Augusta had also been owned by a family member. Charles had been sold twice, once in her own father's house.
Nah, bitch, don't try to speed past it. So now you got this white motherfucker, niggas talking about, well, the son say he owned this many slaves. Nigga, his kids, nigga. This nigga got his daughter working the motherfucking plantation. He probably done sold her. Cause we just seen the motherfucker all the way back in the 1700s. Goddamn, they was sending their kids over here with the convicts by tens of thousands. Her daddy owned her. She a slave in her daddy house. The white girl.
White children had been a slave in her own father's house, who was also her master. Augusta had also been owned by a family member. Charles had been sold twice, once by his own father. The only dark skin had been sold twice, sold twice, sold twice, sold twice, once by his own father, sold twice, once by his own father, sold twice, sold twice, sold twice, sold twice, once by his own father. The only dark-skinned child, Isaac, was noted as having been in school for the past 7 months and
Isaac in school. Hey, if y'all gonna be doing this photo shoot with my baby and doing whatever this slave shit is y'all got going on, my baby gotta go to school. Black mama ain't going. Isaac finna have his little black ass in school. I don't give a fuck about none of this emancipation, abolition, freedom bureau, whatever y'all got going on. Isaac got to be in school. He ain't no scallywag.
Was noted as having been in school for the past 7 months and having excelled and proven himself to be of great intelligence and ability, as well as being photographed for the 7 months and having a child. Ours had been sold twice, once by his own father. The only dark-skinned child, Isaac, was noted as having been in school for the past 7 months and having excelled and proven himself to be of great intelligence and ability, as well as being photographed for the cards that were sold. The group also...
This shit is a photo shoot. What's this, the Kardashians? What are we doing here? Rosa, Rebecca, and Augusta, emancipated slave children from our schools in New Orleans. And this bitch say schools, took the L off, apostrophe S. These motherfuckers scallywags. Bro, I be reading these books and these motherfuckers can't even read in these books, bro. They can't even spell, bro. What the fuck was I just reading? Oh, 1584, some shit. Discourse of some old bullshit. I be reading goddamn so I can know what the fuck going on for the tribe, because that's my role. You know what I'm saying? But it's some bullshit. But them motherfuckers can't even spell. They done typed up and printed out some niggas' letters. One of these scallywag slave ass planters' letters and shit he writing. Because they was getting their ass cooked coming over here. Bro, they was getting fucked up.
This mix that grows your...
Hold on, bitch. We doing something. They was getting fucked up over here. Now let's get back to where was we? We were right about here.
Well, I guess I'll put it to you this way. In this region of the Carolina colony, in the south part, were a series of aristocrats, people who had wealthy homes, a lot of land, a minority land owning and ruling class.
Now, we had to go, that's where we stopped at, because we had to go through and let you know who the ruling class was. Now that we've identified the ruling class, so there's no mistakes. Some forgotten faces, just a few. This is just a few of many. These are the aristocrats.
Up here in Virginia, you had the same. But you also had groups of people in both regions who really didn't belong in that class. They were not considered upper class. They were not considered educated.
Tribe. Shout out Jerry White. Appreciate that, bro. Straight up.
They were not considered aristocratic. So, things would eventually educated. They were not considered aristocratic. But you also had groups of people in both regions who really didn't belong in that class. They were not.
Now he talking about these scallywag motherfuckers who done came over here as indentured service, got them some free land, all this kind of shit. They're not aristocrats. Where the fuck y'all come from? He a son of a convict. He done did his goddamn 10, 11 years, and now he ain't got 50 acres, and now he trying to act like he goddamn one of the rich Indians. That's why they got mad. See, that's why I want y'all to see what happened, and we gonna lead up, and we gonna get to 1920 shit. Tulsa, Oklahoma shit. We need to I need to do a video just listing all the black cities. They said over 50 just in Oklahoma. And now when we look at this, by the time you get done watching this video, you're gonna know what's really going on. These motherfuckers is some hating ass convicts in this motherfucker. Now ran up in our shit. Cause you gotta remember during the Civil War, when we fighting for the Confederate side and we lost, they took everything. If you was Confederate, nigga, they taking everything you had, nigga. So now you got these motherfuckers 19, 20 something having debutante balls all in our motherfucking buildings. And then you got these Freemason ass Indian niggas selling you a motherfucking narrative.
You will give me TP. Give me your TP. You will give me TP. Are you threatening me? TP. You must give me your TP. I need TP for my bunghole. You will give me TP.
Not considered upper class. They were not considered educated. Had the same. But you also were a series of aristocrats, people who had wealthy homes, a lot of land, a minority land-owning and ruling class. Up here in Virginia, you had the same. But you also had groups of people in both regions who really didn't belong in that class. They were not considered upper class. They were not considered educated. They were not considered aristocratic. So, things would eventually change, and you'd see Carolina eventually divided up into North and South. But before we get to that,
That division was caused with the scallywags and the niggas who was rightful owners of the land. If you got motherfuckers all the way 1801 and shit, 1700 niggas got barbershops, businesses, buildings. What did I just read and the niggas say? I think, let me get some primary sources here. Where is that? Look, even here it says, this is a letter from a white man, P.S. I have a letter from a white man, P.S. George of Greenwood, Mississippi, which expresses the country white point of view with singular earnestness. This is 1903, right? I live in a country of large plantations. If there are 40,000 people in that country, at least 30,000 are Negro, and we never have any friction between the races. I have been here as a man for 20 years. 20 years, so that's what, it's 1903, so that's what, 18 goddamn 87 or some shit? I don't know, nigga, I'm high. I never heard of but one case of attempted assault by a Negro on a white woman. That Negro was taken out and hanged. I said that we never had any trouble with Negroes, but it's because we never take our eyes off the gun. You may wager that I never leave my wife and daughter at home without a man in the house after 10 o'clock at night because I'm afraid. So basically he's saying, ain't nobody got no smoke, because this is before the smoke. But this is one of them books they put out to cause the smoke. As a result of these various influences, a traveler in the Black Belt sees many plantation houses, even those built in recent years, standing vacant. See what I'm talking about? And forlorn. This 1908. Now these houses are vacant. And forlorn or else occupied by white overseers who are in many parts of the South almost as difficult to keep as the Negro tenants. Thousands of small white farmers, both owners and renters, of course, remain, but when the leading planters leave the country, these men too grow discontented and get away at their first opportunity. So these just some motherfucking squatters. That's all. Legal definition of squatter. A squatter is a person who remains on the land of another without title, right, or payment of rent. They're just squatting. You This shit so easy to see, bro. That's why that nigga be like, damn, high school, you call everybody an agent. If a nigga talking about some shit that got to do with us being some motherfucking African slaves, the nigga's a fucking agent or stupid. That's my stance. And I won't take it back. Matter of fact, where my nigga at?
I don't give a fuck what you think, bitch. Your thoughts ain't my thoughts. Bitch, I'm flowing straight from the survival scroll. Cut that bitch off. Next caller.
Mr. Brown told me with no little pride of the successes of several Negroes. With no little pride. He mad now. Because remember, this is just a white agent, goddamn. He's supposed to be going to see what's the, following the color lines, go see what the Negro problem is. We met one farmer driving to town in a top buggy with a Negro school teacher. His name was Robert Polehill, a good type of self-respecting, vigorous, industrious Negro. Afterward, we visited his farm. He had an excellent house with 4 rooms. In front, there were vines and decorative chicken corn. A fence surrounded the place, and it was really in good repair. Inside the house, everything was scrupulously neat, from the clean rag rugs to the huge post beds with their gay over coverlets. The wife evidently had some Indian blood. Evidently, peep this. The wife evidently had some Indian blood in her veins. She could read and write. I know this bitch ain't from Africa. But Polehill himself was a full black Negro. Intelligent, but illiterate. So this him trying to say he's a motherfucking African. This nigga don't know how to read. This is the sentiment. But you don't know how to read, nigga? You must not be no Indian. But these black people house. The wife evidently has some Indian blood in her veins. She could read and write. Because we been doing this shit. But he's a hater. It's 1903, 1900, whatever the fuck. 1900 scallywag. But Poe himself was a full black Negro, intelligent but illiterate. The children, and there were a lot of them, are growing up practically without opportunity for education because the school held in the Negro church is not only very poor, but it is in session only a short time every year. Near the house was a one-horse syrup mill, then in operation, grinding cane, brought in by neighboring farmers, white as well as black. The whites thus patronizing the enterprise of the energetic Negro neighbor. Yeah, I'll serve y'all. I don't care y'all white. What y'all want to get? I first noticed Polehill when he began working on the plantation, said Mr. Brown, because he was the only Negro on the place whom I could depend upon to stop hog cracks in the fences. His history and the common history of the Negro farmer who gets ahead, quote unquote. Starting his wages hands, he had worked hard and steadily saving enough finally to buy a mule. The Negro's first purchase. First thing a nigga finna do, I'm finna give me a car, nigga. I'm outside, nigga. Fuck you talking about? I'm gonna make some money, nigga. I can't get around, nigga. The Negro first purchase, then it said the Negro's first purchase. Then he rented land, and by hard work and close calculating, made money steadily. With his first $75, he started out to see the world, traveling by railroad to Florida. This nigga outside, bro. Slave where, nigga? Who's slave? It's almost over, y'all. It said with his first $75, he started out to see the world, traveling by railroad to Florida and finally back home again. The moving about instinct is strong in all Negroes, sometime to their destruction. Then he bought 100 acres of land on credit and having good crops paid for it in 6 or 7 years. Now he has a comfortable home, he is out of debt and has money in the bank, a painted house, a top buggy and cabinet organ! Exclamation point. He pissed. This nigga's over here balling. We going through the Great Depression. These are the values of his property. Look how these hunkies snitching. This nigga, his farm worth $2,000. He got 2 mules worth $300, a horse worth $150. He got some other shit worth $550. He got like $1,000 in the bank. He's snitching. Negro who owns 1,000 acres of land. Look how he put the nigga on blast. He hates this nigga. All of this shows what a Negro who is industrious and who comes up on a plantation where the landlord is not impressive can do. Nigga, how you know this ain't been his people plantation? You see what I'm saying? That's why I got to put all this shit together for you, so you don't fall for the okie doke. And despite the fact that much is heard on the one hand of the lazy and worthless Negro, and on the other of the landlord who holds his Negroes in practical slavery, it is significant that many Negroes are able to get ahead. In Pulaski County, there are Negroes who own as high as 1,000 acres of land. Ben Gordon is one of them. His brother Charles has 500 acres. John Nelson has 400 acres worth $20 an acre. The Miller family has 1,000 acres. January Lawson, another of Mr. Brown's former tenants, has 500 acres. Jack Daniel, 200 acres. Now, Jack Daniel, he a nigga. You heard him? He got 200 acres. Tom Whelan, 600 acres. A mulatto merchant in Hawkinsville, whose credible store I visited, who also owns his plantation in the country and rents it to Negro tenants on the same system employed by the white landowners. Indeed, a few Negroes in the South are coming to be not inconsiderable landowners and having many tenants. They pissed. They got their foot on our neck. Black slave owners, slavery's biggest secret, tonight's topic. Peace to the tribes who just tuned in and shared a live. Hawkinsville also has a Negro blacksmith, Negro barbers, and Negro builders. And like the white man, the Negro also develops his own financial sharks. One educated colored man in Hawkinsville is a note shaver, quote unquote. He stands for other Negroes and signs their notes at a frightful commission. Yeah, welcome to the hood, nigga. They tax it, nigga. Yeah, nigga. He pissed. One educated colored man in Hawkinsville is a note shaver. He stands for other Negroes and signs their notes at a frightful commission. Statistics will give some idea how the industrious Negro in a black belt county like Pulaski has been succeeding. 1875, lands of acre owned, 4,400. 59, this shit going up. 1885, 69, 1890, 12,000, 1895, 14,000. They coming. The Night Riders coming. Jim Crow coming. It is surprising to an unfamiliar visitor to find out that the Negroes in the South have acquired so much land. In Georgia alone in 1906, colored people owned 1.4 million acres and were assessed for over $28 million worth of property, practically all of which, of course, has been acquired in the 40 years since slavery. You see how he tried to curveball because they finna start painting this new narrative? No, it ain't, nigga. Niggas had barbershops in 1801, so shut your scallywag ass up. Negro farmers in some instances have made a genuine reputation for ability. John Roberts, a Richmond County Negro, won first prize over many white exhibitors in the fall of 1906 at the Georgia-Carolina Fair at Augusta for the best bale of cotton raised. Pissed. That's what it's all been about.
That point. Let's take a look at this. Here's what you eventually have. You have the aristocrats from Virginia, and you have outcasts living there who didn't belong in that class. And frankly, the outcasts were getting kind of sick of the aristocrats of Virginia. So this lower class of people was moving down here and getting away from the Virginia colony. They settled in the northern parts of Carolina and wanted to just live lives free the way they wanted to live them. Also in the northern parts of California were squatters, people who were just living there before it had even become a colony. People who were just living there before it had even become a colony. Also in the northern parts of California were squatters.
We caught this dumbass nigga talking about California. Sheesh, bro. I can't do the hard work.
people who were just living there before it had even become a colony. Well, when it did become a colony, they were told that they had to get out, but they really didn't want to get out, and as a result, they stayed even though they had no legal right to the property. They were told that they had to get out, but they really didn't want to get out, and as a result, they stayed even though they had no legal right to the property.
So this is how all this Civil War shit finna jump off. Motherfuckers ran up in our house. It was a home invasion, my nigga. That's what the Civil War was. Home invasion. Because, see, we was doing business with the French and Spanish and everything was smooth. But then you had these motherfucking British motherfucking bums coming over here with their bad teeth and shit. And they got on some other shit.
The aristocrats of the region just referred to them as riffraff, right to the property. The aristocrats of the region.
Hold on. Let's not forget who the aristocrats are. This motherfucking riffraff nigga. Didn't y'all grandmas used to say that? Don't be in, y'all ain't coming in my house with all that riffraff. We ain't no motherfucking scallywags.
Them as riffraff. And the aristocrats of the southern part of the Carolina colony viewed them in the same way. But where did that leave the outcasts that were, and the squatters that were in the northern part of the Carolina colony? Well, they were perfectly content being there because they did not like the aristocratic families of Virginia. Now, here's something that's mentioned a lot on the AP U.S. History test, so you're going to want to underline this and be aware of it. The FFVs. In other words...
Oh, yeah, this the teacher. This is straight AP motherfucking history, nigga. That's why we're going, so we can line it all up, see what's going on, see what they teaching. But they saying the shit. These people are squatters, nigga. They just pulled up, and now we know where they came from. Where do these squatters come from? They the tens of thousands of motherfucking convicts, motherfuckers just shipping over here.
A good sign of people realizing they're on a good thing is that as soon as a market develops, you can be sure that that criminals latch onto it, and this is something that one sees throughout history. And the interesting thing is that right at the very beginning, I mean, almost immediately, the first children were rounded up and sent out to work on the plantations in the brave new world. Almost immediately, a kidnapping industry grew up. And of course, a kidnapping industry could only grow up if there was a demand, and there was, because these new plantations, not only in America but also in the Caribbean, to service the new plantations throughout the Caribbean as well, they were a voracious demand for labor, simply because the attrition rate was horrendous. People either were worked to death because since they were only signed up for a specific number of years, anything, to 4, 5, 6, 7 years, or even longer in some cases. If you were a young child, if you were a boy, and some of them were only aged 7 or 8 years old, and you were swept up and taken away, you belonged to your new master until the age of 21. So a long time, and so the criminal.
21. You belong to your master till age 21. They just grabbing motherfuckers up. So now you done populated this motherfucker, overpopulated this motherfucker with convicts and orphans. And they just goddamn KKK ski masked up, nigga. We finna just run up in this and take this motherfucker. Fuck these rich ass niggas. That's what happened.
There's a market here to service this. And of course they weren't constrained by any of the needs and desires of the official world. So they started to round up kids off the streets of the seaports of the British Isles. And they had a wonderful name. They were called spirits, because they spirited people away. And the spirits, the first recorded spirit was in 1618 in the West Country.
First recorded motherfucker from England grabbing up somebody's kid and goddamn sending them off to America 1618. So we got 1600. Then we got 1700 with the contract with the nigga that sent his son over here. 1801, my nigga in the barbershop getting a line up. What the fuck is we talking about, dog? That's what we talking about. Slavery's biggest secret.
And which is very early, if you think it's right at the very beginning of this whole enterprise. And very quickly it became the first really big-scale organized crime syndicates, really, is what grew up then, which I think is something which isn't realized, that the idea of organized crime syndicates we think as being something entirely new. It isn't. It's something that existed in the early 1700s. And they were able to exist like crime syndicates do all over the world with the connivance of the authorities. And they had all sorts of people from local beadles and constables and magistrates and all sorts of people were in cahoots with them to round people up and flog them off to go and work as slave labor in the colonies. So this is one of the fascinating things, and very quickly you see how this, and it became a huge cause célèbre. When you read the newspapers, the news sheets of the flyers of the 1600s, you see that it became one of these sort of like urban myths. I mean, it was a shocking thing, and there were endless reports about how, and in fact there were cases where people got so worried about being spirited away that in fact there were cases where in the West Country in England where word was get around that spirits were in the distance, and all the young women or men of the village or town they would actually run away.
They hid in the forest or the
yeah.
Because there's a parallel with paedophilia, with the fear of paedophilia.
Yeah. Except this was in a huge level, and of course went on for a long time. And then of course laws were quickly passed against all of this. And the kind of people who were preyed upon were the gullible, the weak, the young. So it was young children right through into men and women in their early mid-20s really and these people were either just shanghaied, like you think of straightforward violent kidnapping, or they could be inveigled on board ships. Come and see around my ship. And the next thing they know is the ship has taken sail and they're on it. And that happened a great deal. And in fact, stories like that were the basis for a great deal of stories that you get in literature. If you look at Robert Louis Stevenson's famous book, Kidnapped, the story about how Davy Balfour, the hero of Kidnap, is inveigled on board this bark at anchor just to come and see around it, and the way this young boy is, and the next thing he knows is the ship sets sail and they're bound for Carolina. And that was, and like so.
Where they going? He done told the nigga, hey, come check out my ship. Wow, mister, that sure is a cool ship. Hey, come check it out. You want to see it? You want to see inside? Yes. Oh, he probably talk like the word, please help me out some more, ass nigga. Yes, it would be mighty great, looking ass nigga. It'd be mighty fine if I could see your ship, sir. Well, get your bitch ass on, because you about to be a slave in Carolina. Better hope you didn't send your ass to William Ellison, nigga. He don't give a fuck. He running up the sack, nigga. He don't give a fuck about your feelings. Peace to the tribes, man. Salute Kenneth Graves. Do it for us, man.
So many things that writers use, of course, this is based on absolute fact. And there were so many cases of this happening to people. And people were, they were plied with alcohol, spirited away, they were knocked over the head, they were persuaded that they were signing.
Now peep this, y'all, because I just peeped this as I'm listening to it. He says spirited away. That's that alcohol. They getting motherfuckers drunk, giving them spirits, yeah. Finna take your ass up out of here, bitch. Go ahead, drink up. Sending this bitch to Carolina. What did I have with the bitch sold her sister? White girl sold her sister. Yeah, man. We're gonna let a little more of this play. We're gonna wrap it up. I got the other bill coming. Aboriginal America's insane in orphan trains. So I might be doing that tonight. Stay tuned. Just at 2 hours. Put some bows and arrows in the chat, man, if I need to let the video play. Or if y'all had enough, let me know. Because, you know, I think we made our point. That's what's so troubling. I like to go on and on. But it's like the nigga in the book. He'd be so pissed. 14 million, 1906, niggas own 1.4 million acres. Where'd that go? But I do low-key be wanting to rub their nose in it. And man, you know what it is, man. Appreciate you for tapping in. We ain't gonna make it too long, man. Do this shit for us, man. We ain't come from slavery. You know what I'm talking about? Peace to the tribes.
But change your motherfucking mindset. You wanna know why you ain't got shit? Cause you ain't thinking about shit. I come out the door every day with this shit on my mind. I'm gonna give me a bag. Fuck wrong with you? I'm gonna give me some cash. Change your motherfucking mindset, man. You think pennies, you get pennies. Bitch, I'm thinking dollars.
I'm ready.
How can black people rise up and overcome?
How can they rise up and overcome? Oh, can they?
That is correct.
Respect, but this is business that needs to be taken care of, you know. Slap on the back is all fine and dandy. Yeah. But it needs promotion. It needs promotion. It needs, yeah. Big tip. Are you laughing, biatch? You find it funny? You find it funny?